founder of Go-Jek, Southeast Asia's first super app. Go-Jek does ride-hailing, food delivery, payments, even on-demand massages. You name it, we do it. Go Figure is a podcast dedicated to expose the inner workings of ambitious tech companies in the emerging world. We like to talk about things we like and talk about things we don't like. There are a lot of myths out there that we want to dispel, so keeping it real is kind of our mantra. Hope you enjoy it. Hey guys, welcome to Go Figure. Today we have a very, very special session. We have a very special episode because we've got my two former mentors, two entrepreneurs, two founders. We're all from Indonesia. We all met in Harvard Business School.
Yep.
And somewhere along the journey, we decided to merge all three of our companies together. And now we're all here. So I've got my friend Ryu here.
Hey guys.
What's up, Ryu? And Aldi
Hey
over
guys.
here. Just to give some context about where they are now in Gojek, and then I'll let them explain a little bit about their background. Aldi right now is the CEO of GoPay and leads all of our payments and financial services arms. And Ryu is the head of all things merchants in our organization, dealing with our merchant super app. People tend to forget that Gojek is not just a consumer super app. We also have a small to medium business super app, and the platform here is run by Ryu. What's up, guys? How the hell did we get here? How did we get here?
It's been a long journey, guys. 2012 was when it all started.
Was that when we first met?
No, we met in 2000. No, we met in 2000. No, we actually started earlier. We met in 2008.
Oh, yeah, briefly.
Huh. Okay,
Yes.
so I met you guys in 2011, right?
Okay.
Sorry, 2010.
No,
2010. So I met you guys in 2010 when I got into school.
Yeah, I met him. We met in 2008, the first year of school. There's only 2 Indonesians in the class.
That's right. So I found you
Yes.
being the other Indonesian.
2009 or 2008, dude? 2009, man.
2009. Sorry, yeah,
Yes,
2009.
2009.
2009.
Wow.
Aldi can do math. That's
And, and well,
very important, as the CEO of GoPay. Yeah.
hey man, I mean, you're the self-proclaimed best Excel guy in the company.
pretty
Yeah,
good,
man.
I mean, your private equity background. Why don't you talk a little bit about your backgrounds? Like, tell us the elevator pitch of your background.
So I'm half Japanese, half Indonesian. My mother is Japanese. I speak fluent Japanese because of that. I grew up in Indonesia, went to JIS, and then went to school in the US, did banking, did private equity for a while. That's actually, that's my affiliation with North Star, because I went to work for a company called TPG Capital.
Ah, okay.
And then...
And North Star is our first investor.
Your first investor,
One of
right.
their arms was our first investor.
Right.
Yeah.
So I saw, so I met Patrick Waluyo back in 2007. Yeah. So way back. And then I went to school, B school in the US, HBS. And then while at HBS, I started my company, Midtrans, and here I am.
And just to explain what Midtrans was, what's Midtrans? So
Midtrans was an online payments company. So think of us as like the Braintree, Stripe, Adyen of Indonesia. We helped a bunch of companies, e-commerce companies, accept payments online. I think today we are one of the largest players in the market. Roughly about 70% of all e-commerce companies in Indonesia work with us one way or another, either as their main gateway or as their backup gateway.
And now it's the engine that is fueling the payment gateway that is GoPay, which is allowing all kinds of payment options to come in, right? Not just the GoPay wallet, and a bunch of different merchants online and offline, all flowing through your engine today.
That's right. So think of basically what we brought to the overall Gojek ecosystem was an acquiring system, because a merchant is very different from a Gojek user or a Gojek driver. A Gojek driver or a Gojek user is one individual. A merchant is an entity. And within an entity, there's multiple users. And entities can be affiliated with other entities through brand hierarchies or whatnot. So basically, we're trying to bring all that to the GoPay ecosystem, to the Gojek ecosystem.
And that's exactly what I kind of told you in the beginning. It's like, Ryu, when I was trying to coax you to come in and maybe consider joining forces, I was like, Ryu, we are in our blood a B2C business. We really, we know the consumer very well. That's all in our blood, but we are very poor at understanding businesses.
Right.
We're nowhere near as good as you, and that was part of my my charm to get you to convince,
Yeah, you did a lot of different things, man.
roll
Some
up.
things, yeah.
Some things work, some things didn't.
Something that, yeah. Coercion,
Coercion. Oh my God, let's not talk
Pressure.
about that. What is this? What is this? Let's not be too authentic. It's like, okay, Aldi, tell us a little bit about your background, man.
So Indonesian, grew up just outside of Jakarta, went to school in Purdue studying computer engineering, left that, worked for EY for a bit, then really started my career in financial services with Kiva. Like it was like a really small company, 6 people at the time. It was peer-to-peer lending. I was helping Kiva find partners in Southeast Asia. Did a bunch of motorcycle rides around Southeast Asia looking for microfinance banks. And then after that, needed money to get married, worked at BCG. And
As we all must.
yes, very practical reason. And then at BCG, I did a lot of projects on financial services again. And that's when I started my company, actually, right before business school, Mapan. And it was called Ruma at the time. And we were just helping small community influencers give access to services, like at the time, payments and top-ups to their local neighbors, right? And then basically ran out of money for that company and needed a place to find people who has money, and went to business school to hopefully raise money.
So that was your big motivation there, was in order to raise money and team members for Mapan.
Yeah, because I think at the time, I mean, there was no VC in Indonesia. You guys remember? It was really hard to raise money. I don't know anybody with a lot of investment capital, and so I thought that Harvard and business school was a place where you can get that, and it worked out actually.
I remember this one moment where I saw you enter the social enterprise competition,
Yeah.
business competition, and you actually won it, right?
I won that. Yeah, so that was like yeah.
And I remembered being green with jealousy at how the other Indonesian of our grade won the social enterprise award, and I didn't even have a startup.
'Cause there's only, I think, HBS, like, there was only 2 Indonesian your year.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's 2 Indonesian my year.
That's right.
That's right.
So it was me and this other guy called Salomo,
Yes.
Who's our regulator now?
who's a regulator right
Yes.
now.
the
we're
central
for
bank.
BI.
Central Bank. Yeah.
Central Bank, yeah. And then there was Rika Crisanto, who's, she has a very, very deep roots to Indonesia, but I think she was there also. I think so. Maybe you could say we had 3 Indonesians my year.
Why are we so underrepresented in HBS given our population?
I don't know, man. How'd you bullshit your way through getting into HBS, man?
Well, very creatively. Very creatively.
Yeah.
So I guess there was a big gang of Southeast Asians as well when we were there, but
It was
not
small,
so
dude.
big. It was a pretty small gang, right?
I think when I think about like Southeast Asia and where I struggled when I was applying for business school is the fact that I didn't have. I was very fortunate. I worked for a private equity firm that went to business school that were able to mentor me to essentially write the right application, say the right things during the interviews. And I'm not sure if most people have that, that access.
I mean, also a lot of it is just financial, right? I mean, like not many people here know that business school actually has financial aid. If you do, if you do well, and that you can actually afford to go there, and the application process, a lot of people find daunting, right?
How'd you end up in business school, Nadiem?
For me, my reasons were very, very simple. I was getting a little bit tired of consulting, and I relished the idea of a 2-year vacation in which I could figure out what to do. I wish I had a better answer, but that was really...
I agree, man. The first things I bought when I got in was a 42-inch TV and a Sony PlayStation 4, and the latest Final Fantasy.
But wait,
yeah.
But wait a minute. So wait, did you start your company right before HBS or during HBS?
During HBS.
During HBS.
Aldi, when did you start your company?
Right before.
And then what have you, Dim?
So you actually took the biggest risk, Aldi, out of all of us. You actually had a company set up and then left for 2 years, whereas we at least just came from the professional world and just wanted to see what was up.
Yeah, I mean, I had to find a temporary replacement. Remember Budiman, right?
Yeah.
And so it was tough, right? But at the same time, my company was kind of getting stuck because I wasn't able to get capital to grow, right? And I felt, honestly, struggling, balancing between the company that I was founding and BCG was tough, right? And so I thought that, business school was a vacation as well. I played soccer constantly, basically, the whole time.
And so, like, how do we feel about our experience in business school? Like, a lot of people always ask me, like, how pivotal was it in your entrepreneurship journey? And honestly, I think the question, the answer to that is, for me, always slightly 50-50, right? There are elements in it that I felt were helpful and some that I think played no part in my entrepreneurial journey. But I don't know if you guys felt differently. Was it transformative for you?
And what was useful about it for you?
I think what was useful was seeing you guys in action, start stuff. I think seeing you guys and a bunch of my other friends, like, doing pitchathons, doing fundraising for a bunch of different not tech and non-tech startups, and there was this inherent FOMO, I think, building in me in terms like, yo, if they can do it, so can I, right? I can do this. I'm another student. I'm just another HBSer here. I believe I can do this. So that motivation definitely spurred me forward. Whether or not the classes or the curriculum actually helped me become a better founder is a question mark. I don't know. I'm still 50-50 on that.
I agree. I think, seeing other people create companies, it makes you think that you could do it also, right? So I
Yes.
think that environment and the friends is actually, I think, what I think was really transformative for me in HBS. Yeah.
Right. It was those side discussions.
Yeah, and the
it
side
was
discussions.
the lunches, the dinners, the going out and stuff like that. And you really, initially though, I have to admit, it was a little bit jarring. It felt like a little bit of a show-off contest. Oh, this is what I did before, and here's what I'm doing here. And a bunch of people there were a lot of braggers. I have to be honest there.
It was a measuring contest at some point.
It was a little bit. It was a little bit. But over time, you found the authentic kind of people and the authentic crowds in the business school that were just out there to solve problems. And those I found to be the most productive and useful conversations.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you have like a watershed moment or like a particular inspiring moment or inspiring friend?
Not really. I think I was very lucky. I had a lot of great friends, but if you want to pinpoint to like one person, one group, I don't think I had that. Frankly speaking, talking about the value of business school to starting companies, had I taken a 2-year vacation, had I basically met with a lot of people over that 2-year period, most probably I would have created a company also, right? It would be a different type of company. I don't know which one would have been more successful, but I would have created a company also.
Why different? What was it about HBS that you think made you choose a payment gateway?
I don't think, I don't know, right? I don't know if it's going to be different or not. But I know that basically, my years at HBS was transformative. It did help me. But I just don't know. I cannot compare it with a route that I did not take, right? So that's actually something that's not so clear to me, right? So a little bit more about my background is like my family owns they're in the business world also. They're entrepreneurs. So basically there's always a family pressure for me to start my own company also.
Really?
So that's always been
to continue the legacy and be on your own feet. Like stand on your own feet as well.
Yeah. So basically, that's why I would have created a company anyways, right?
Interesting.
Okay, interesting.
So how did it help you?
Yeah, you're right. I think I would say that it's the people that you meet, that you hang out with and actually build bonds with over time. But honestly, mine was pretty practical, right? I needed money. My company would have shut down if I didn't raise money. So probably the pivotal moment was winning that social enterprise competition.
And then everybody knew who Aldi was after that.
Well, then we found investors, right? We got Patrick to invest. We got
From North Star.
Yeah. We got Gurmeen, and we also had the founder of eBay, Omidyar, invest, and that gave me some breathing room. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I would recommend starting a company while in business school because it involved, especially in a different time zone, because it involved a lot of like time that you had to spend. I think Ryu had the same experience.
It's terrible. I would not recommend it.
I would not recommend it, right? I would say that you should think about the idea and enjoy it, but I don't know if you should run it. But at that time, I had dependents, right? There was like employees, we have 30 or 40 employees at the time.
Yeah.
There was all these communities that depended on us for income. So for me, it was a responsibility that I had to uphold. And I think that it did help in that way. It also got me access to a bunch of people that I met through these events and these networks, right? So not just the people in your classmates, but alumni and also just other startups and investors that were hanging out throughout that time period. And I think that it's nice to actually be surrounded by a bunch of people you can bounce ideas off. But to be honest with you, today, if you were to start a company, given the amount of venture capital that already exists in the region, right, and the amount of mentorship networks with like Endeavor and Sequoia and all these guys, I'm not sure if an MBA is as necessary as it was before.
I think so too, and it always surprises me people who are in, say, like very established technology companies who are still considering an MBA, and I mentor a lot of young people who are very, very talented in their scope, but I always tell them, look, an MBA I think is a wonderful and great place for looking for new ideas, getting inspired by your peers more than anything else, and also building friendships for life, which I think for me was the most important part of business school. I built friendships for life. School period is like that for me, I feel. But if you're in tech, I feel like the 2 years opportunity cost of getting that much better at your craft within a technology firm is still of greater value on an objective basis. Now, having said that, being in Asia, I have to admit the pull or power of the brand of HBS was very, very powerful. It opened a lot of doors.
Yeah,
I could go into a meeting with any C-level and be credibly received. At least at the opening of that discussion.
Not now,
Huh?
Still now?
What, you mean in general?
Well, I mean, like,
Nowadays,
it depends, right? But Rio,
I don't think
I mean, if your company is worth of, if you're a unicorn company, then you don't need the MBA. But I think that if you're just starting out, I do think that in Asia in particular, the brand does matter, right?
I think more in Asia.
Yeah.
More in Asia.
Yeah,
And for the
I don't
wrong
know.
reasons.
Yeah.
For the wrong reasons.
I don't know, man. I feel like people that keep on relying on on that brand is most probably not doing the right things. I think you should be more independent.
I agree, but if you have it, milk it all you want, right, to get what you want to achieve. And I think people do that. But I think a lot of young people are mistaking the desire for that brand with the actual impact it can have on your career in tech.
I agree.
This is the big mistake. When I drill down, and a lot of these young people who say, I want to go an MBA and I want to go to a top MBA program, the root cause of that desire very often comes out to a reflection that on paper, I feel like I'm not good enough on paper. I need some bells and whistles. I need garnish. I need I need badges of validation. So, tech is littered with all kinds of very successful, insecure people. I was one of them, and I think that it's okay to have that, but you have to be honest about it. You have to be honest that that's what I want. I want the badge. Because if you go there lying to yourself, thinking that it's going to make me a much better tech entrepreneur, that's not true. That is not true. The best way to actually learn how to be an entrepreneur is by either jumping in or learning in another technology company, specifically about tech startups.
Let's talk about our journeys. Let's talk next thing about what you did.
Wait, can I add one more thing on this MBA
Sure,
thing?
sure.
'Cause I actually think that we skipped one thing, which I actually think that taking a 2-year vacation or sabbatical is actually not a bad reason.
It's not.
Like, there's many times in your life, like, okay, this is my third kind of tech startup, right? Kiva, I saw scale, and then Mapan, I saw scale, and then now GoPay and Gojek is scaling. I feel like, yes, you do learn a lot more in those 2 years or those 2 or 3 years in those roles in those tech companies, but taking a 2-year break is not necessarily something that is bad, right? You do need that in your life, and being able to meet people from not just your region but all over the world, it is useful. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't discount that. But if your goal is to learn and actually how to build a company, I would say that joining a high growth company is probably the fastest and most effective way.
Yeah.
Because you see all the problems, right? Even though you're not in the driving seat yet. But
It is. It's a very specific domain too. But I want to go to Ryu's point
Yeah, I
about
agree.
how we all kind of got together and met, and halfway through the first year, I could see you guys already well into starting, or you've already started your own company, LD Ryu. You were just about to, but you had a really strong idea of what you wanted to build. And I was kind of, I felt a little left behind, but I want to say that, watching you guys in action truly inspired me to not want to fall behind so there was a slight competitive element to it. But at the same time, when I did decide to go for it, you guys were also the guys that told me, like, what the hell are you doing working in these other companies? Even though no one was funding Gojek, you should do this full time, because that's how you get funding for Gojek, by doing something full time.
You remember that that drinks that we had in 2014? It was the early part of 2014.
Yes.
It was where was that? In SABD.
SABD,
Beer hall.
I remember
beer
that.
hall.
Yeah.
And then it was us three. We were drinking. And then we asked. I think I said, both of us said to you, Nadiem, it's like, what are you doing?
I was really upset about it.
Because you were at Kartuku at the time.
Yeah, I was
Kartuku,
working in another company that we also ended up acquiring.
Yeah, and then I think what you said to us is like, well, would you fund me? And we said, yes, we'll fund you if you do Gojek full time.
Full time, yeah.
But then you're like, no. Would you fund me now and then I'll go full time? I was like, what are you talking about?
No, because look, we always believed in you, man. Like, I think at that time we were just trying to push you, but I think at the time you were still unsure about making the jump.
But thank God you didn't take a lot of our advices, dude. Like, for example, I gave you advice that you shouldn't you should have a full-time driver instead of outsourcing it.
That's right. I remember that.
I'm so glad you didn't take that advice. I feel like
Dim, your driver should be all full-time.
Yeah,
salary.
no, I remember that. I said that. Oh my God, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's, for me, like, one memorable moment was actually when you helped me raise money that summer.
Yes, I remember that.
2010.
2010.
The internship, right? He was looking for an internship, and I was.
I was your intern. So
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, my summer of internship, where I actually started Gojek, I was interning at Aldi's startup.
Yeah, he was my best performing alumni, basically.
I certainly hope so.
No, but you helped me, right? And that summer we were pitching together, right? And we met a lot of people, and I think that's when you started to look at motorcycles. And I remember you coming to the office and having these pictures of motorcycles and you guys in motorcycles in uniforms.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, how about this, right? Should I do this?
Which is actually distracting me, because that's not what you hired me as an intern to do. But
you did raise the money, so we did raise the money.
we did, and so I fulfilled my KPI for the summer.
And the best paying internship as well.
But being in Ruma at the time, it was called Ruma. What it impressed upon me is that, hold on a second. So the one realization I learned from you and from your organization was this moment of clarity when, actually, the bottom of the pyramid can be a deeply productive sector.
Yeah.
And they are also, at the same time, the most underlooked sector in Indonesia, and I think in a lot of different countries. And that's what got me digging, like, there was this Peter Thiel's book 0 to 1, and saying, like, there's this term about all great companies began with a secret, right? And I always felt that the secret that we had in Gojek was the belief in the productivity of these drivers in the informal sector, and no one else believed that, right? And so working for Aldi, and you've been always a very charismatic person, and telling me how all these mothers in the villages and the rural parts of Indonesia became the kind of the financial backbone of the entire economy. And that's what got me thinking. It's like, well, what about ojeks, right? What about ojeks? And so I thought what was really unique about that was you guys were not just my, kind of role models, my competition, and my business partners. You were also my friends. And that friendship, I think, is something that a lot of founding stories don't talk about as much, right? Trusted friends that actually push you and tell you sometimes what you need to hear instead of what you'd like to hear. And I just want to say thank you to you guys for always doing that, and look at where we are now.
Right? Yeah, thank you, man, as well. I mean, remember when we had that office together in Chiasam?
Yes.
So
yes,
after
you were upstairs.
You were downstairs.
No,
I was upstairs. You were downstairs.
Yes, we were downstairs first.
And then I think so. We were looking. Initially it was a kindergarten that we renovated.
Yes.
And it was very clear that I was very frugal or cheap, and you had decorated your office, with like
I
great.
think cheap is the right word. I don't think frugal correctly describes you.
Sorry, I bought like desks from
I felt so sorry for everyone that was working. I've been there, dude.
Yeah,
It was horrible,
It's
D.
terrible.
I know.
It's like,
But you
listen to your friends.
No, I know, and you gave me feedback, and you're like, Aldi, like this place is shit. Right? Like you gotta buy actual chairs, because I bought elementary school chairs because it was cheap on sale, and so little things like that actually mattered, right? So
Yeah, that was really interesting. I know I said it subtly to him. It's like, maybe you want to consider upgrading your office furniture. You've got some really great talent there. I think they deserve to be a little bit more comfortable.
yeah, I mean, you have to remember that I came from a place where we were just struggling to meet, and then we just had capital, so it was a mind shift. Right?
Yeah, we were both the social enterprise people, right?
Yeah.
The founders back in the day. But Ryu's office was always shiny.
Oh my god,
Ryu's office was like always, because he was all about merchants and B2B
It
sales.
was decked out. It was like the middle of Sudirman.
Yeah,
we were looking
coming
at
into Ryu's office is like, oh man, I picked the wrong sector.
yeah, and the desk, like
I have standards,
No, it's okay. Now I think we learn. I think like that's what you taught us, Ryu, as well. It's like, okay, people need space, people need quiet time.
to be productive. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that.
I got you to buy a Jabra.
Yes, that's right. So
It's incredible how different we are in terms of personality and styles, and yet we're still able to collaborate, for the most part effectively, right? And still be, the greatest of friends. But like, Ryu, your impact to the organization and your impact to me personally, if Aldi is the accelerator, like you are the brake, right? You are the brake. You are the person who says, wait a minute, that's all fun and great, and we can do that. But have you thought about the downsides, right?
Yeah.
So what's it like being an entrepreneur, leading the show and having that very strong risk averseness? Has it been a strength? Has it been a weakness at all? What's that like?
I think in the B2B space, I think it's a strength.
Yeah.
In the B2C space, I think it is a weakness, because I think in a consumer as well as businesses, they have different SLA standards. As a consumer company, if you make some mistake, you just say sorry, give them some vouchers, and tomorrow they'll forget.
Are you trying to say something about Gojek?
No, I'm talking about
Is
this
that
generally
what it is?
everywhere. These are things
Are you giving me feedback right now?
basically as a B2B company, right? You make a mistake, right?
Yeah.
You go down for some time, and you say sorry, and it's not enough, right? They remember, right?
Because it's their business.
It impacts
as
their
well.
business, right?
Yeah.
It impacts their as a business. If you're a B2B, you serve a business. You don't serve an individual. You serve a collective member of a team, right? You serve, like, let's say 20-person team. You serve a 100-person team. When you deal with like the largest e-commerce in Indonesia, you serve like tens of thousands of people, right? That rely on you. So they don't forget. So in that sense, basically, because you have to have a high SLA standard, I think that risk averseness helps, because it allows you to retain these businesses to continue to work with you. So.
And was that a tough transition process when, we all, by the way, for the audience that doesn't know, we all ended up merging our companies into a single one, right? So was that really difficult for you to come into a very high risk DNA of a company like Gojek?
It was definitely difficult, right?
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I learned that basically areas where I didn't have to take risks. I mean, where I was risk averse, that I learned that I could take risks, right? And I think that was some of the greatest things I think that I learned from joining Gojek. But at the same time, I thought that sometimes you feel lonely because you're the only one saying, oh, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, right? Let's slow down, when everyone else wants to kind of go and become a striker.
Yeah.
So you're the lone defender in the soccer match, because everyone else is a striker.
Yeah, and everyone's moved up to score a goal.
Exactly. you're the only one behind, right? And but it's okay. I think like using that example as in the soccer match, right, or a soccer team, a defender has a role, right? A goalkeeper has a role, right? I feel that in some ways I'm the goalkeeper of the overall, a merchant org, in the sense that I don't do much. People don't know what I'm doing, but I do contribute. Right.
Wow,
So-
I think you're underplaying the value of the entire merchant ecosystem, which is in many ways the future of the entire business.
You're holding us, you're keeping us afloat, man.
Yeah.
It's like, no joke.
Yeah. But I think that, this thing about the lonely defender, I really love this analogy because at the same time it is lonely, and you're not alone though. There are other people who have a natural inclination to be calculative and to assess risks.
Just not us.
But at our level, I think you are the bastion. You're the sweeper.
Yes.
If anything. But how then your role in our organization, especially with me, you become my go-to expert on all things like how can I be wrong on this? What could go wrong on this? Right? Which is also a incredibly important position to be in, an incredibly valuable part, because you're right. Everyone's trying to strike a goal, especially Aldi over there. Just constantly trying to score
Trying
goals.
to strike a goal, right? Yeah.
Trying to score goals all the time. Aldi's actually a pretty good football player too. He used to score goals on me all the time in the HBS soccer pitches.
But I think in overall Gojek, I have to agree with you in the sense that there are other defenders, other goalkeepers, right? I think Tom plays that role.
Yeah.
Shinto plays that role.
Yeah.
Nila, plays that role, right?
Yes. We should have all the defenders on the next podcast.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
The defenders, right?
Yes,
the
the
people
guardians.
that are a little bit more paranoid, right? So I, but yes, I think we have to become like the brakes to everything going on in Gojek, because we need to make sure that the platform and our company grows,
Yes.
right? To
Yeah.
grow, we need to defend.
So Nadiem, that's interesting, right? So he was the defender, but when you were trying to decide to move to Gojek, the defender was telling you to score.
Yes.
So
that is true.
like what made that decision difficult? Because when Ryu was saying it, for me, it was like, oh, even Ryu was telling him
Because
to jump.
Ryu is a do as I say, not as I do kind of guy.
What do you
know
mean?
I mean? Like that's why he was just telling me to go do it, but then he was like, yeah.
Again-
what
again,
what
changes in
compelled
the-
you? What compelled you to give me that advice, like to gun for it?
I thought that logistics. I mean, back then, the where I saw Gojek was as a logistics play, right? And that's how I think you thought initially on how to make money.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of discussions on the logistics side. So, even back then, I mean, logistics there's tremendous opportunities, and I still see tremendous opportunities from logistics. So that's what I saw, right? Again, that's my weakness. I don't see the B2C play. I did not see Go Food. I did not see Go Ride. I saw the B2B Go Send.
I actually saw the opposite, which is interesting because I was in the same building, and you weren't there because you were like working in another building, right? So I would go to the call center and somebody would tell me all sorts of weird orders. Like somebody will bring their laptop or bring their dog food or actually take them get grocery shopping. Things that because when you had a call center, you couldn't actually restrict what people ordered, right? And when I saw that, and I saw that we had this ojek corner near our office, right? And the drivers were just constantly gone, and it annoyed me that I couldn't get them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was cool because you could see that it was picking up. And for me, I actually saw really, wow, there's a real consumer pull for this, and the drivers are actually doing really well and are able to do more things than I ever imagined. So that I thought was cool. And being there.
That's interesting. So basically, I think the power of the Gojek platform is that it could be super useful for B2B. It's like there's tremendous opportunities in the B2C. So basically, it could be both.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why we were this size and we've been this successful, right?
Yeah, and I actually met those drivers yesterday, by the way, the GSM drivers. They were the ones in the convoy.
They were.
Yeah, and the guy next to me was the guy that used to like be in this, we would wait for the bathrooms together. I still remember it was.
Yeah, Mulyono's like first driver.
Yeah.
Like ever, which I recruited myself. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, we just did our rebrand.
Yes.
This is our new logo symbol called Solve, right? Kind of looks like a Gojek driver from top. It's also part
Yep.
of a wheel. Pretty successful, but you're absolutely right. But how did this change how did working together and merging our companies, I mean, we went through so many challenges trying to merge the companies together. There were cultural shocks, there were all kind of organizational issues that we all faced. But how did it affect our relationship? How did you think it affected our friendship?
I mean,
Not much,
Not
right?
much, yeah. I
Because
mean-
basically, when we got together, right? For example, me and Aldi, right? When we got together pretty often, right?
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, it was really lonely as a founder.
Yeah. And all we did when we got together was talk about work. But then it was as two separate companies.
We sound really boring.
Ruma
here.
as a Midtrans, and we talked about how,
Challenges we're
having, right? And today, basically, when we meet together casually, we talk about work. Nadiem, man, in our discussions, when we got together, right, when we were at that beer hall and three of us in 2014, we talked about
Work.
yeah. Right? So basically,
It is our passion.
today we talk about work, right?
I mean, and the thing is, like, when you're...
But does it change when we're all in the same boat now?
I think the thing is, Gojek is big enough that everybody has their own different problems to solve. And it was kind of similar to when we had different companies, right? When you were solving a completely different problem with the drivers, we were solving completely different problems with online merchants, but we all had similar problems with culture. For example, like, how do we recruit people? How do we recruit talent? We talked about how should we just start an academy for engineers, because it's really hard to find, really great talent at the price that we could afford at the time, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about how we could scale up. We talked about finding office buildings and issues with potential regulators and partners. So we had a lot of different problems that we are having today. We just have a different platform that we're in it together. So I thought that was...
And I think the other thing that changed, maybe if you're talking about change, is that we are willing to help each other more.
Yes.
Right. For example, before, because it was separate organizations, I would love to help out, right? But there was a limit to how much I could help out.
Yeah.
Right, because there were three separate orgs, right? But now, right, as we are together as one, the willingness to help out is significantly more.
Yeah.
So I think we work as a team.
And we should talk about how the process of how this happened, right? Because that, I think, was a really interesting process of how we ended up.
We were talking separately, right? I was talking to you, and then I was talking to you separately, and then some way along the line, you guys started talking to each other and conspiring against me. That's right.
So yeah.
How did that happen?
Who'd you talk with first? Is it me or is it?
I think
Aldi?
you first.
Yeah.
Him first,
I
because you
remember
guys
this.
were already working together.
Yeah.
I remember this.
Yeah.
And then I think
So
back
tell us
then,
the story, Ryu.
Back then, basically, I think you were thinking about growing pay,
Yeah.
and you approached me about basically running pay.
Yeah.
And then I had a lot of doubts because I knew pay was a B2C.
Yes.
It's a payment method,
Yes.
right?
And you were B2B.
I was B2B. I said, Dim, there's a better person out there that could potentially be the CEO of this.
That's right.
And then
It
you're
was
like,
you that put the idea
Yeah.
of Aldi.
No. You said that. Don't worry.
my
Don't
head.
worry. No, what you said is like, I said, Ryu, don't worry. I'm already thinking about something to do with Aldi.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. And then you came to me and started talking about this super app where everything together could be one in Indonesia. And I thought, okay, that's an interesting idea. And
I was just selling back then. I never thought it would actually become a reality.
No, but you said
But it did.
this guy, Bastard, actually said it, right? And I remember that you guys just got the license. And just at the time, Ruma was already starting to get into financial services.
That's right.
Right, we actually had a license to do a branchless banking pilot to actually help people get savings for the villages. So 10 cents a day gets your kid to college, right? And I remember, I think one of the things, the first moment where it hit me was when we had that. So when there's one of the ladies came to one of our gatherings for the savings, and she said she couldn't save anymore, and I thought about, and she said she wanted to be a Gojek driver.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was really hard for people to get in because there was such demand to become a driver.
Yeah.
And we were meeting at an event in Sahid Jaya Hotel for an MOE event.
Oh yeah.
And we made a video and saying, "Hey, Miss Apia, welcome to Gojek. Congratulations."
We let her into
We let her into Gojek,
fam.
right?
Oh yeah, so she
And-
could compound her income.
Exactly.
That was amazing.
And because she didn't have a husband or lost her husband at the time, and she didn't have any income, and she said that she could only make money by driving a motorbike. And
Was that like November 2016?
yeah.
Yeah, around there, right?
Yeah,
November
and-
2016.
And then I think we decided, because I saw what happened was because Mapan was solving the other side of the problem, which is savings. Like, how do you reduce spending, right? But I didn't help so much with how do you earn income.
Yeah.
And all of the Arisan leaders in Mapan were all women, and so how do we help them earn income? And we did a pilot in Jogja, where the husbands were Gojek drivers and the wives were Arisan leaders, right?
Yes.
And I remember, because you didn't even go to that one, you sent Andre as usual to.
And then the household income just like blew up.
Blew up. It was
right? And
10x.
they almost instantly joined the middle class. I remember that. That was the point where I realized like this is a powerful combination. And I also remember I want to say, you know, very honestly and openly that, you know, there was that moment where, given all of our aspirations, we were having honest discussions with each other about where we might bump into each other in the future. You guys remember this, right?
Yeah.
There were open and honest discussions, and I think this is a really important thing among founder to founder relationships. Like that openness and honesty about where our vision was and where we may clash and compete in the future led to the first discussions about, hey, what are we going to do? We're all friends. We're all have a very similar vision about empowering Indonesia through technology and empowering the bottom of the pyramid as well as small businesses. What are we doing? Should we go and grow our own and end up bumping into each other and competing with each other, or should we just form an alliance and you know, fight this battle against the old way of doing things together?
Well, I think, look, I'd like to caveat that there's nothing wrong with competition, right? Competition, you know, at a certain level is healthy, right? But I think where we basically kind of agreed is that, hey, look, if we cooperate together, we could achieve our goals, our respective goals, faster.
Yeah.
Right. It was more about, you know, that collaboration will make our will allow our constituents, whether it be the merchants, consumers, the drivers, achieve their goals faster.
Right.
As we work together as a team.
Right.
So I think that was the thing that made me excited about joining Gojek.
Yeah, and honestly, it was just, we all have at some point in our lives worked together, right? I worked with you on a tech conference.
Yeah. Boost Asia, 2012.
2012, right? That
Yeah.
was the first tech conference in Indonesia. And so, okay, I know I can work with this guy. And we talked about starting. We worked together, obviously, right? And so I knew that we could work together. And we always trying to figure out a way to work together, but couldn't figure it out. And I think when you were able to raise a bunch of money, and
You're welcome.
yeah, thank you, and grow, we had this opportunity. So, but to be honest with you, I don't think it was an easy decision. I think Ryu kind of, as the most risk-averse guy, held on for a long time.
Yeah.
And then you guys had a discussion. Tell me about that discussion.
Yeah, so I remember.
What was that
I'll never
discussion
forget this, right? So I was in Bali. I was like trying to figure this out, taking a holiday. I was surfing, and I just got out of the water, and I think you called me, and we were talking about, hey, did you hear? I just got the offer to join together, and apparently you had the same offer.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew at the time. It was one of my first moments, and we had discussed this for a while, and then at some point in the conversation, we were talking about, yeah, but it's like high risk, it's like really fast. It's like we were much more kind of conservative in raising money, and at some point I said, I think it was me or you. You jump, I jump.
You said that.
I said that, right?
You
yeah.
said that,
I said
yeah.
you jump, I jump.
It was a Titanic moment.
Yeah, it was a Titanic moment between the two of us.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait. Who said it to who? You said it to Aldi.
No, I
No,
think.
Ali said it to me.
Aldi
yeah.
said, "You jump, I jump."
Yeah,
I
I
was
think
like,
so.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. I think, hey, Ryu, look, man, if we're gonna do this, because it was about payments, right? And
Yeah.
we both actually came from different sides of payments.
Yeah.
Like Ryu really understood the merchant side and how to make sure that businesses that are served are really taken care of, and I was about the consumer side. I've been doing the same kind of base of the pyramid financing for a while, and I didn't think I could do it with you know, without Ryu. So I thought, okay, if we're gonna do this, at least if we're gonna be able to convince Nadiem, there needs to be two of us. And so I said, you jump, I jump. And
Yeah.
That's so sweet, guys.
yeah.
Thank you for reinforcing each other. And honestly, you know, all jokes aside, I don't think we would be here in any shape or form where Gojek is today without your organizations coming in and just taking over some of the most important chunks of the organization. I think we would have been still struggling today to find different, you know, both organizational capabilities and especially you guys as leaders to be able to, you know, stop me from making the dumbest mistakes I would have made. But
You think so, dude? I think that the Gojek platform is strong enough that it would have gotten to where it is today without us. But it would just taken a little bit longer.
a lot longer. And you know, that was,
Yeah.
you know, that took a lot of thinking, you know, because at that time I had by far the most number of high qualified engineers because I had the most funding.
Yep.
Right at the time, and so I could have very easily had the hubris of thinking, oh, why don't I just build this myself, right? Why don't I build these capabilities? But that's where the trust and the friendship kicks in, and understanding that, hold on a second, just because you can do it doesn't mean that you will be successful to do it. And Gojek at that time kept on succeeding at doing things on its own. So we could have very easily run into that pattern of like, oh, I'll just go do everything myself. But we kind of stopped ourselves and said, hold on a second. Payments is a totally different ballgame, right? Merchants and payments is a totally different ballgame. This is a ballgame where the margin of error is very, very thin. This is where the regulatory structure and the thought process of rollout and MVP is completely different to ride hailing or food delivery. And when I began to realize that, there was also this other element that came on, which was at that stage, I had a couple of co-founders in Gojek, but as you all know, being a founder in many ways, starting a company from zero is one of the most lonely jobs in the world. And I don't exactly know why, but that cliche is very, very true. You get really lonely because it seems like the buck always has to end with you. And so the ability to have two other superstar founders come on board and be able to spar and just get emotional support, even not the sparring part, but just to be able to empathize and say, hey, I got you, man. I got your back. I know what you're feeling. It was massive for me. It was massive. I instantly felt that I wasn't alone when you guys came on board, and I felt like I was not, even though I had an amazing team, but having other people who built something from scratch was really transformational for me. And a lot of people do not factor that in the whole, startup and founding story enough. The amount of emotional support that you have through this is one of the highest variables that will lead to either success or failure, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys felt the same, but I felt like I wasn't alone anymore, and I could spar.
I agree. Ryu, what was your hardest moment before Gojek? Like, when did you feel you had just a really shitty year or month?
September 17, 2016.
What happened?
I went down for 24 hours.
I remember that. I remember we immediately met after that, actually.
Yeah, that was the worst day of my life. Yeah, that was very difficult.
Even now, when you talk about it, I could see your face
Yeah,
changing.
it just reminds me, but and I thought that I was going to go bankrupt. As a gateway, as a payment gateway, you just cannot go down, right? You have to have high SLAs, and that's when I remembered that. I think I was building too many new features. I was not focusing enough on reliability. That thing really changed the way I looked. And I remember that day because the day after, I was at home and I was discussing with my dad, and as you know, my father is one of the biggest investor in Midtrans. And I said, Dad, I'm really, really sorry, but I might go down. And he was like, do you have money to pay your employee's salary this month? And I said, yes, I do. What about next month? I do. Thank you so much. It's because of your funding. And then he said, what about the next one after that? It's like, I do. Dad, what's your point? And he said, very, very correctly that, look, there's only two ways you could go bankrupt. You either run out of money, or you stop trying. So as long as you have money and you don't stop trying, you keep on going at it, you would stay alive.
Yeah, but you were paranoid. I remember when you were talking to me after that, you were paranoid about how your partners would feel. You were just talking about, and you weren't sure whether you could ever earn their trust again. But
exactly. So
that was your concern, right?
That was my concern. That's why basically, I thought I was going to go bankrupt. But what my dad said is that essentially, if you stop trying, they will not believe you anymore, right? So I think, I tried harder. I tried harder and went on. So
Yeah, and every one of us has had those moments.
yeah, so I like your point about like having like other founders like mentor you or not. Because in my case, other than you and Aldi, my dad was a mentor, right? And he's been through the '98 financial crisis. He's gone through a lot. So having that network of mentors, that's gone through starting companies, whatnot, is highly valuable.
It is.
Right. Yeah.
And I really, it kind of, I get this question every time I go on a speaking event and stuff. And young kids always ask me this question, like, who's your role model? Who's your role model? And they're expecting, answers like Elon Musk and stuff, of which I am a huge fan and stuff like that. But honestly, who are your mentors and role models? Like, it's really hard for someone to become a proper role model if they're not your actual mentor. And it's really hard for someone to be your mentor if you are not actually interacting with them on a frequent enough basis with which to capture those pearls of insight and wisdom. So I always say, and I suspect people think I'm being like just politically correct and trying to give props to my team, but I consistently say that my mentors are my team members, and I really, really do mean that. And those are the people that I learn from the most, and I'm just being honest about that. Like, I don't think it's very helpful to have a mentor that you've never ever spoken to or a role model that you've never spoken to. And so, those interactions, hearing your crazy stories and hearing your, stories of crisis, they helped me get through mine. For me, that day was doomsday in, I think, around 2016. Was when we got shut down.
Yeah, I remember.
Gojek got shut down by the Ministry of Transportation.
Yes.
It made it illegal at that time, and it got overturned in 24 hours by the president.
That was amazing.
That was
amazing.
But it was like the worst and best day of my life, all in 24 hours. And I thought, that's it. It was gone. The thing that stuck to my head was not, it's like, oh my God. I think at that time we had, 200,000 drivers on the platform. Sometime I'm not exactly sure, but I'm like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? This is their job. This is their income. Like, oh my God. Like, what do we do? And yeah. And
so who gave you that? Who gave you the advice? Like in my case, the 24 hours, my worst 24 hours. I think my dad gave me a lot of advice. Who was the one that gave you advice during that worst 24 hours of your life?
We opened a war room in my house. I couldn't even go to the office. It was just like I was too stressed. I had to be in my comfort zone. So I invited everyone into my house and we opened a war room. And then I just said, okay, everyone, let's find out what the solution could be. Call up everyone you think matters and find out what we should do right now. So everyone was just like taking calls, and everyone was calling important people in government, our investors, etc., and asking everything. And then turns out nothing we did actually did anything. The president was the one that overturned it because Save Gojek became the highest trending topic, I think, on Twitter. I'm pretty sure it was not just Twitter, Southeast Asia. I'm pretty sure it went like a little global because we were one of the biggest Twitter users in the world. And serendipitously, just like that, we were recovered.
Yeah.
But if you stop trying, like, people tend to forget about that. Startups fail. I mean, we learned this in HBS, remember? Like 2/3 of startups fail. The reason is because of the founders decided to bail, right? And decided this is not working out.
So stop trying, right?
Stop trying.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you
It's
think
not about money. It's about stop trying.
Stop trying. Even more so than money is the stop trying, because
Yeah.
if you keep trying, even money can be solved
Right.
Yeah.
eventually.
I think you guys had a more shorter downtime. For me, the hardest moment was 2013 when we were just doing a pilot for branchless banking, the savings product, where we were partnering with a bank to offer this educational savings, and it was working, right? We actually had tens of thousands of people saving up for the first time in their life because they never had access to financial services before. They were saving up for their kids' education, for college. And I remember I was in the middle of a training where I had used all the money I had to get all my salespeople from all over to Bogor in Kebun Raya Bogor, and to explain how we were going to go nationwide. I just signed a Series B term sheet, and we were about to scale nationwide, and I got a phone call from the head office saying that I got a letter that because it was December and my license for a pilot ended in December, I just assumed because we were doing so well we would get extended. We didn't. They said, hey, you gotta close down and return all the savings
My God.
and the money. So my business model went from getting ready to scale nationwide to not having anything.
Yeah, and I think you
That's
never gave
crazy.
up, dude. I mean, because the crazy thing about Aldi is that every time I talk to him, like his business model or the way that he explains his business changes.
I never gave
what?
up.
I think you had the record for most number of pivots.
I did.
But you never gave up,
Because
right?
I kept failing, and I was like, oh my God, I
never
got
gave
shut
up.
down. Because I had
Yeah.
one that was working, and it was just got shut down, right?
Yeah.
And that's when I got I spent like months, and unlike you guys, I actually had to spend 2 or 3 months trying to figure out what to do. Thank God my investor was okay giving me time, and he said, look, don't worry about it, you'll figure something out. So as I was returning these money to these women, they all asked me, hey, why aren't you, what happened? Why did you stop this? But then one of the ladies actually gave me the idea to start the Arisan. She said that, hey, why don't you help us find goods? Because when we save money, we save it to buy something anyways. So why don't you help us save up to buy some goods using the rotating savings account? And that's ended up being the winning model. So from this failure, after 3 months of just wandering around and feeling helpless, to be honest with you, trying to figure out what to do next, I got the idea from one of our leaders. So she was my emotional support. She said that if you just keep trying, and we did, and that now
Pasti ada jalan.
pasti ada
Jalan. Well
jalan.
Right.
done.
Well played.
That's our new tagline from our rebranding.
For Gojek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why it resonates so well with
Pasti
a lot
ada
of people
jalan.
within Gojek, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's not only us that went through significant pains where we thought we were going to give up or not, but we never did.
But I mean, yeah,
Just so that the audience knows what if in case you don't speak Indonesian, pasti ada jalan means there's always a way.
There's always a way. And that's
So-
the
Oh my
tagline
God,
for the
that's
new
perfect.
Gojek.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, the
There's-
rebranding.
there's
That is
a
their
new-
tagline.
It is our tagline.
Because that's who we are.
Yes.
And that's it. Wow, what an amazing place to stop the discussion. So for those of you going through dark times as a founder or part of a team, etc., rest assured there will always be a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Hope
much.
to have you guys here soon.
Okay.
All
Bye.
right, bye.
Bye.
If you liked it, please hit like, subscribe, and follow us on social media. Thanks so much for tuning in.